Welcome to Lighthouse Health and Safety Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Chandran, or Chando, as I'm sometimes known. LHS Podcast is a voluntary service that I'm offering to our global workforce, their supervisors, managers, and support staff. Through this podcast, I'm going to shed light on topical work health and safety matters. Things you hear about all the time, but still leave you very confused and wanting to know a little bit more. I'm going to talk about what's really going on in the profession. What's going right, because we do need to take credit for that. But I also want to share with you what's going wrong. And most importantly, why that is happening and what we can do to turn that around. Because I think most people will want to know the why. And my view, with a very strong instructor background, is that once you understand the why, you can then start asking the right questions. And when you start asking the right questions, you're well on your way to better work health and safety practice. I'm going to talk about the disconnect between academia, the legislation, and how we transform what is on paper into exceptional practice in the field. So I'm going to talk to you about what works, what doesn't, right? Because the one thing that is often missed on paper is that people forget that work health and safety is about people. Which people? Well, people like you. And if people are going to offer you guidance and advice, they need to know you. So I'm going to talk about you. And I'm going to talk about hazards. And I'm going to talk about what you can do to keep yourself safe at work. Work health and safety is a profession. And because it's a profession, it needs to be managed professionally. The loudest voices in the room are not necessarily the smartest or the wisest. I'm going to present facts, and I will give you facts, but I'm also going to be presenting opinions based on my own experience of over 25 years as a work health and safety professional, working in this country and working around the world in mining, in petroleum, in renewable energy and other industries. But don't take my word for it. Shop around. Get the best deal. Listen to what a lot of people have to say and then decide for yourself, what's going to work for me and what isn't. Okay? What is a sales tactic versus something that's proven and is going to work. I'm a big advocate for taking the best and leaving the rest. And I encourage you all to do the same. So that's a little bit about the podcast itself, but now what about me and my career overview? Well, very simply, over the years that I've been working professionally in this space, I have worked as an advisor, a manager, consultant, and a work health and safety inspector for both the state and federal petroleum safety regulators here in Australia. My experience in those industries has been very broad, and I've covered most aspects of work health and safety during that time. Many of those aspects and those topics will be the subject of future podcast episodes. But the areas that I think in my career I've probably been most impactful in have been occupational hygiene, and that's a very, very broad discipline. Critical risk management and the ability to demonstrate regulatory compliance. I'm talking about SFARP and ALARP demonstrations. Behavior-based safety and transforming, BBS programs into the type of program which will actually shift a culture in the right direction. Human factors, mental health, safety and design, and hand and finger safety. Now, a bit about me and what you can expect. I am not a politician, right? So I'm not going to baffle you with BS. But I'm also not a soldier, right? I don't simply follow orders, nor do I expect you to do the same. I expect you to challenge what you hear. If it doesn't make sense, ask the question, right? And I say this not as a work health and safety person, but as someone that's been training in the martial arts for over 20 years, is ask questions. Because when people ask questions, if the question is a good question, it sets you up for some further development and growth. But if you don't ask the question, or if you don't ask a good question, then you will stagnate. So absolutely think about it, ponder it, and ask the questions. Because that's all part of growth and development. So with that background, you should expect to hear useful information. Things that you can take away and do something with. But you're also going to hear about some strategic thinking. What is strategy? Strategy, in my view, is the application of the right principles at the right time. So that's it. It's very simple. If you want to maximize your outcome, do the right thing at the right time. So moving on, who is this podcast for? Well, it's for anyone who wants to listen to an industry veteran talk about all things work health and safety. It's for people doing real work and for their supervisors and managers. It's for company executives. It's for other work health and safety professionals who feel like their careers are stagnating and they need a little boost from an industry peer. I will be your trusted voice in all things work health and safety. If you want to improve your knowledge of WHS, then this podcast is for you. If you want to know what works and what doesn't, and most importantly, why, stay tuned. This podcast is for you. If you want to crush your enemies with superior work health and safety insight and hear their lamentations for years to come, then this series is absolutely for you. The podcast episodes are designed to flow into one another. They'll cover some foundation topics such as the legislation and what is actually required to demonstrate the intent of the legislation. Some topics will be highly technical in nature, such as noise and heat stress and hazardous chemicals or fatigue, for example. And some will be a little bit more esoteric or philosophical, such as how to manage ego and relationships, how to become more resilient, and mental health. And those three topics there I just mentioned are actually very, very closely related to one another. But all of these episodes will have the same goal in mind. They will make you better. Because when you're better, then you can deliver better workplace health and safety outcomes for everyone. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button and stay tuned for our next topic, the rights and wrongs of WHS practice, where I'll examine what's working well in the profession and what isn't, and what needs to change. But for now, be well, stay safe, see you later.